Your day moves fast. Your news should too. That's why there's a new and improved Wish TV app bringing you more local news, breaking alerts, live streaming, weather forecasts, radar, and Indiana sports all in one place. Customize your news feed to see the stories that matter most to you and get the information you need when you need it. Download the new and improved Wish TV app today on iOS or Android and take News 8 with you everywhere.
Music, dance, theater. It's time to take a seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez. Hear from performers, producers, presenters, and creators who enrich our lives in the performing arts. Who's on stage? Here is Tom Alvarez to introduce you.
Hello, and welcome to On the Aisle with yours truly, Tom Alvarez. My guest on today's episode is Anthony James Sirk, costume designer, technologist, and educator. Join me now as I go on the aisle for a chat with Anthony. Good morning, Anthony. It's so lovely to see you sitting across the table from me here at the Channel 8 podcast studios. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. You've been on the show before, early on when I started doing this podcast a couple years ago.
I feel like it was about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, and you were on with your wonderful colleague, Tim.
Yeah.
Tim, I'm blanking. Help me, his last name.
Oh my gosh.
Tim, who is he still lighting designer at Phoenix Theater?
Tim Dick. See,
Tim
we got it.
Dick, yeah.
He just went out to California.
Really?
I think he'd moved out there before and he came back and now he has decided to make the move permanent. So he just announced a month or two ago and he's already gone.
Did he go out to chase film?
I think he's going to do some film and theater as well.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
You know, I thought you'd be long gone by now yourself.
Well, when I came back, because my family, I'm from Indiana. My family's here. And I probably one day will leave Indiana again. But right now, I have family here that likes me around. So I'm sticking around for a while.
Remind me, when you were on the show, I think we went into your background again, but for listeners, and by the way, people should check that show out because it's archived. My past episodes are all there. And because I like to delve deep, as I said to you in a text.
Yeah.
I like to talk to people about all kinds of stuff. I pivot a lot.
Yeah.
I like to pivot.
And that's the fun part.
Yeah. Like a chat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like to say, I want people who listen to this, it's the kind of thing if you're sitting in like a restaurant or a bar and you're hearing this really interesting conversation next to you and it's like you want to insert yourself somehow or like, what are those guys talking about? Anyway, so that's you and me. So let's dish.
Yeah.
1, 2. Okay, so where are you from again in Indiana?
I'm from Huntington, Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
Small little town. I tell people Fort Wayne because I did grow up. At one point, we moved to the north part of Fort Wayne, like Leo Grable area. So, but Huntington's my home. But yeah, I
think we did talk. I'm a Fort Wayne boy.
I know that. Yeah.
And Huntington, I'm very familiar. I'm familiar with Huntington because there's a Catholic newspaper there, and there's an order of nuns. My mother, in her older years, she became friends with nuns in Huntington. She hung out with nuns.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's right by the dairy that's there, Shinkle's Dairy.
What's the Sisters of St. Francis?
I think so. Yeah.
But Huntington's got a real kind of Catholic kind of thing going for it. Right?
I figured you were going to say that Huntington because it's the home of Dan Quayle because that's what.
There's that.
A lot of people know that.
And Bishop Noel, is there a Bishop Noel something or no? What is it? High school or no? I can't remember. What is his claim to fame there?
I've heard it. I've heard of it, but I don't know. It's been a long time.
He was a Fort Wayne bishop, but
Yeah.
So Fort Wayne was your big city.
Yep. When I moved to, I think like in middle school, I moved to Fort Wayne, and it was definitely like a culture shock going from this small. I grew up on a farm where we had horses, and then there was a veal farm across the street that I worked on throughout my childhood. And
What kind of farm?
Veal.
Veal.
Yeah, like little veal calves.
Yeah.
Yes. And I showed horses. Showed cattle at the 4-H fair. So I was a real country boy.
Were you an FFA?
I was an
kid?
FFA, yes. Mhm.
You wore those darling little blue corduroy jackets.
Yeah, it was like, I remember it being like a club in high school, and, all my friends did it, so I did it too. So
Yeah, I love that. I love Indiana countryside.
mm-hmm.
And when sometimes I get really bored going back and forth to Fort Wayne to visit family, and I'll take the alternate routes through Marion and so on and so forth, and you go through Huntington or the outskirts. And I like to go there because you still see rural Indiana. That hasn't like gone away, and it's going to go away eventually.
Yeah.
But, I often wondered, so you grew up there. I'm always interested, like, it always seems like those places, like, they feel so lonely and isolated. But when you're a kid, you don't feel that way, do you? Because that's all you know, or what?
No, because I was lucky because there were kids near me that were my same age. So, like the farm that I worked on, there were 3 kids that were all within maybe 2 years of my age, and we hung out, and I had this like childhood where we just ran around the countryside doing crazy stuff.
I love that.
Yeah, like building forts, and
Well,
so it was fun.
And that's another thing I'm interested in. You turning out to be the creative savant you are. How did you feed that early on when you were a kid growing up there?
Well, like my mother and my father must have seen that I had like a love for the arts or art, because my mom would take me every weekend to St. Francis. Is that the college that's in Fort Wayne. And they had art classes, and she would take me every weekend, I think Saturday and Sunday, and I would do classes.
Yeah, but what were you doing that she saw that? Were you painting? You were drawing?
I think I was drawing.
Were you making costumes for shows? What?
No, but I do think I was drawing a lot.
Okay,
and I think,
sketching.
Yeah, sketching. And I really connected with the arts that were, I don't know if they still have, I feel like they don't have these in elementary schools anymore, but like, we had art and music and all those things, even in my small little farm school that I went to. And those were my favorite things.
Wow.
And so
must have some special teachers.
Yeah. I think, when I look back at the fact that I went to a little school that was basically in the middle of cornfields, to me, sometimes I'm surprised I ended up where I ended up, because I could have just stayed in Huntington and been, doing something there and not doing theater.
Let
But
me
I
ask
really,
you-
yeah.
But did you go to movies and did you watch television?
I did.
And were they influential?
They were. And there was a little movie theater in Huntington that we would go to a lot. And then I did watch TV and I read books.
Of course.
I really liked reading. And then I got into a lot of activities that were, that got me off the farm. And one of those things was I would do shows at the Fort Wayne Civic Theater. And so my parents, I can't imagine how they did this, but they would drive me every night up to Fort Wayne to be in shows.
I love that.
And so the first show I did was a musical called Hans Christian Andersen, and it had a bunch
when
of
you
little
say
kids.
you did theater, were you in it? or-
Yeah, I was
Okay.
in the shows. So like they would drive me to Fort Wayne and I would, be in these shows, and I never did youth theater. I was always in shows that were with the adults, and I was a kid playing, in the chorus or something like that. So, and that just, once I got that theater bug, I just,
And I bet
loved
you
it.
love that. It's being backstage and like the theater rituals and
yes.
the repartee amongst the performers, right? That being a theater kid, you just
Yep.
soak all that out,
And I'm still close. Like a lot of those people that I did theater with, 30 years ago when I was a kid, I'm not close with them, but we still
Yeah.
communicate, and we're, Fort Wayne has a really close theater community.
I know.
And I still stay in touch with a lot of those people and go up to Henry. Have you ever been to Henry's?
Oh, of course.
Yes. So we go to Henry's in Fort Wayne and hang out because that's where all the theater people hang out. It's a really artsy little bar.
Oh no, this is going to, okay, I have to be transparent. This is going to drive me crazy because I mentioned this recently that, I'm no different than the rest of the people. I have my insecurities, and someone will give me 500 compliments, but it's like the one negative comment I get, it ruins my day.
Yeah.
So I got some feedback that, Tom, yes, we know your bio. When I interview guests, because, I'm trying to relate, but, I always invite people that I know, and we have so much in common.
Yeah.
So, I'm from Fort Wayne. I studied theater at Pitt.
Yeah.
Purdue, Indiana Theater.
Yes,
so
yes,
you
yes.
know that.
Mm-hmm.
And to be a theater kid anywhere is special. And
Yeah.
Fort Wayne was no different. And I'm here because of Purdue Indiana Theater. And I was in the Civic Theater production.
Yes. And I did stuff at, when I started college, I started at Purdue Theater in Indianapolis, in Fort Wayne. So I did, or IPFW is what it was called at the time, I think.
But did they call the theater Pitt at that point?
I think
no,
so.
because they changed the name of the university.
They had just, the theater that they have now, they had just built. So I don't
Okay.
know what they,
Oh, okay.
but I was a voice major and I did theater because what I wanted to do was musical theater and they didn't have it there. So I went 1 year and thought I could do music and theater, and you really couldn't because music was IU and theater was Purdue.
Yes, yeah.
And so after a year there, that's when I transferred to Ball
Was
State.
Larry Life in charge by that?
Yes, he was.
By any chance?
Yes.
The legendary Larry.
The larger than
art-
life, yeah.
He was a theater professor for those listening, and he was, he had an era.
He did. He was. I can remember as I think once I started doing theater as like a young adult in Fort Wayne, he was such a part of that life. Like,
Did he influence you?
I think so. We would go out to. You would either go to Henry's or there was a place called Hall's Gas House. You know what I'm talking about?
Of course.
And he was always there, and he was. He really cared about the young artists in the community. And if you were doing good stuff, he would tell you. And if you were doing stuff that he didn't like, he would be brutally honest with you. And
he always held court.
Yeah, he
was
did.
Always surrounded by his acolytes and his
Yes.
worshipers.
And he was such a special part of the Fort Wayne theater community when I was there.
Sure.
And yeah, I can't imagine going to the Hall's Gas House and not seeing Larry Life sitting there.
When I was in high school, that was one of the places we would circle round and round and round. Of course, I'm a little older than you, but this was in the 60s. And
Yeah.
we would go to the halls out on the north side and just circle and circle. It was the thing to do.
Yeah, Fort
Yeah.
Wayne was.
But the big busters, now I know that if they're not on the menu, you can ask for them and you can get a big buster.
Oh, okay.
So that's where your roots were
Yeah.
in Fort Wayne. I
Fort Wayne.
love that.
Yeah.
Because look what happened to you. Yeah. So those early influences, don't count them out. Those
No.
people that you connect with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, all right. We, for those who are just joined us or just who hadn't heard the show before or don't know who you are, I was joking before we started recording that, you are hot. You're white lightning hot. And as a reviewer, I see everything. And so, I'm very aware of people who are really standing out. And in the technical world in Indianapolis, you are very much in demand. And so it seems like you've kind of reached critical mass with your brand, would you say?
Well, Indianapolis has been really good to me since I came back because I moved back to Indiana in 2019, which was kind of it was great to move back in 2019, and then the theater community stopped right after I kind of moved back because of COVID, and so that was a scary time. But ever since the theater world kind of reopened, I have really tried to do as much down here as I can, and it's just been theater. The theater community has welcomed me with open arms and has given me a lot of opportunities down here. And
Well,
I feel
look what you
blessed.
turned out, though. There's a reason for that. It wasn't just, because of your name. It was your product and what you did for the shows. And I've seen many of them. And, it's your work is very, very unique. Very unique.
Thank you, Tom.
You definitely have an eye that is apart from many, many others, in my estimation, as a reviewer. And, I'm supposed to be critical, right?
Yeah.
But let's talk a bit about, we're going to jump back and forth, but it's for some context. Where had you been after college?
After college,
The beginnings of your career professionally.
my first professional gig that took me out of Indiana was Alabama Shakespeare Festival. So I uprooted about 2006 and went down to Montgomery, Alabama, and I was down there for about 3 or 4 years. And I worked when I was there at the Shakespeare Festival. I think it was the third largest Shakespeare company in the United States, and it was a gorgeous building. It was an unbelievable job to have fresh out of college. So I got to go down there and I worked in the costume shop. I was the first hand for a while in the costume shop, and then I did some wardrobe. Yeah, it was just a great experience, and it really kind of fueled my love for Shakespeare and classical theater. I really do enjoy working in that world. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then after that?
After that, I went to Pensacola for a while, and I worked for the University of West Florida as the shop manager there, and then I did Pensacola Opera that was there in town, and I was there for 2 or 3 years, and then from there I went to North Carolina. I was in Asheville, North Carolina. I worked for a place called Brevard Music Center, which was a opera. It was during the summer. It was like a music camp that also had an opera camp.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved doing that. And then I was also at Western Carolina University as the shop manager there, and I designed. And that's where in North Carolina I worked with Terrence Mann.
Sure.
I worked with him for about 4 or 5 years there.
For our audience who don't know who he is, tell us.
Terrence Mann, he was the original, I think, he was the original Rum Tum Tugger in Cats, and then he was Javert in Les Mis.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of things. I think the most recent thing that I know that he's done on Broadway was he played the father in Pippin.
Mm-hmm.
That
A revival.
the most recent revival of Pippin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I guess backing up one more time, tell me, how was it that you made the transition though from acting into costuming?
I just when I was at Ball State,
And that's where you got your training.
Yes, that's where I got and I ended up at Ball State, and I got a BFA in musical theater. But while I was there, I just started working in the costume shop. And then it kind of just became a bigger part of my life. And I liked the creative. I really liked the creative part of it. I liked designing and seeing the things that I drew come to life. I really like, if you're working in the costume shop and you're building something, you're building this beautiful dress. At the end of the day, when you start with nothing, and then at the end of the day, you have this beautiful dress. And I just love that feeling of, creating something. And I really liked being on stage, but I also liked this other thing. So, I kind of transitioned, I would say about halfway through my 4 years at Ball State. I didn't stop performing at Ball State because I I was cast a lot, but I also would work in the shop and do all these things. So it was, I really enjoyed both things.
Well, that means that you spent some time around costumers.
I did.
They're a breed in their own.
They are.
When I was at Pitt, my best friends worked in the costume, and I hung out with them because they knew all the gossip. They knew everything. They were like the therapists.
It's true.
Cast.
Yep.
Because it's so intimate.
It is intimate, and it's such a, costume shops. There's always a little gossip there, but they're also like a quiet place. And
Yes.
I really try to make, because now that I run a costume shop at Purdue, I try to make it a place where the kids always feel welcome.
It's safe
to come in and
space,
talk. Yes.
and you don't put up with drama.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, and it's, compared to the other like workspaces in the theater world, like the scene shop's too loud. You can't go in there and gossip. So you go in and you hang out with your friends in the costume shop, and it's.
I love that. So it hasn't changed. It's a culture. It's a subculture, right?
It is. It's
In
a
the
culture
theater?
within there. Yeah, and like I just love that I've created that the theater space is that the costume shop is a theater space for like all the kids to come hang out. So I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
When you were reading when you were a kid and you were watching TV and all this stuff, was nature an inspiration for you as well?
I think so.
Yeah.
Nature was.
I was just
I
wondering.
do. Yeah. I mean, I did hang out a lot outside, and so I think nature was an inspiration. I think I pull inspiration from a lot of different things.
Yeah. Well, if anything, just the serenity it brings, right? To give you a chance to sort of reflect and problem solve. Do you do that in nature?
Sometimes. I mean, I love hiking. I love being out, outside.
Sure, fresh air.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It
that's
recharges me. Yeah.
Yeah. So were you interested in fashion when you were a kid? Fashion magazines? Did you go through magazines and like look at clothing?
I think I was, but I didn't realize. It also like, growing up as a little gay boy in Indiana, and a lot of those things I tried not to have interest in those things. You know what I mean? In a way. I do remember, I can remember, this is going to date me, but I remember watching Punky Brewster and being like, oh my gosh, her fashion was so cool. And it was the first time that I realized, like, I think up to about that point, I just put on a shirt and pants every day to go out and play.
Sure.
But then I saw that you could put all these layers and different things on, and it was like fun. And then,
Not to mention accessories.
Yes. And I can remember I would, and I think after that was when, there was like a neighbor girl that would come over sometimes and play, and she would always bring her Barbies. And I would
love that.
I would play with the Barbies and dress them up, but I had to be careful not to get caught.
You didn't make any clothes for him, did you?
I don't think so, no. But I mean, you would always
Looking back, don't you wish you had?
Yes, but I think I would like maybe put other stuff that maybe wasn't the clothes on them and stuff like that. And I remember, I don't know what they were called, but they were like these little fashion plates where they were like ridged or something, and you would put, there's a top, a middle, and a bottom, and then you would take paper over it and you would rub it and you would see the little costume rendering.
Oh, I love that.
And I think they were made by Barbie, and I would play with those as a kid. And I don't think I realized that that's what I was doing, but that is what I was doing. Yeah.
Okay, so was there any inkling on the part of your parents that you were in any way a sensitive child?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did they ever tell you that? Or did
Yeah,
you
I mean, I think when I finally did come out, I don't
Yeah.
think there was any huge surprise,
Well, we're there. Let's talk about this. This is
Yeah.
part of our shared experience
Yeah.
as a gay man. You have a lens like I do, and things. My creativity is informed by my life experience as a gay man.
Yeah.
Yeah, my sensibilities. Don't you? Do you think there's such a thing? I believe there is.
I believe there is. I mean, I definitely believe that, like, my entire, history here in Indiana and being gay in Indiana, does, it has been a lot of what like makes Tony who Tony is. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
and I even though some of those experiences might not have been the best when I was a kid, I wouldn't trade them for anything else, because I do think that all of those experiences created who I was, you know?
But it sounds like your parents were supportive, right?
They were
And
very
accepting?
supportive. They were very supportive and very accepting. I mean, I came out in 1996 when I was 17 at a little rural school in Indiana, you know, and I look back and I'm surprised my parents handled it as well as they did.
Tell me your coming out story. I always find them, I love them.
You know, like, it was, a friend's mom called my parents and told them because I had told my friend I was gay, and the mom found out and called my parents. And I was living with my father at the time in in Huntington, and he was out of the country working. He owned his own company, and he did work in Mexico for the auto industry. So my dad was gone for like 2 weeks. And so right as he left, he found out he was already gone out of the house. You know, we didn't have cell phones back then. So he had left to go to Mexico. He had found out en route to Mexico that I was gay. And so I thought I was going to get kicked out, Tom. So I went, and a friend of mine, we decided, we were seniors in high school, that we were going to get an apartment. And I was going to be fully moved out when my dad got back, because I figured I was going to get kicked out. And we went through all this stuff. And then when my dad got back, he was like, you don't need to go anywhere. And so it was really, I thought his response would be one thing, and his response was completely different. And it changed my life.
I love that story. It's bittersweet. The idea that your fear took you to that place where you just presumed.
Oh yeah.
And that's the tragedy of having to keep your identity under wraps, and it's just a mark of just how brutal life was. And it's gotten better, but you know. And I'm much older than you, and so it's even worse. But but thank God for your father.
And they really, after that, like, both of my parents, like, really supported. You know, then I was like, because I was a senior in high school, I was not going to go to college. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, because I wasn't going to tell my parents I wanted to go to school for theater. But then after I was kind of like forced out of the closet, I was like, I'm going to go to school for theater, you know. And then it became, that was not a big deal, and they totally supported that.
And see, that's the thing that people don't realize. When you're closeted, you think it's protecting you, but it doesn't. It's a prison. And if you finally own it and you embrace it, and then it frees you.
It did. It completely freed me. Yeah.
And I don't think that people realize, but that's how. You know, I can't judge other people's journeys, but that's the tragedy of what society, you know, things have gotten better, but there's still like those rural kids. So maybe there's somebody listening to this. This is good for young kids out there, you know, who are still struggling, you know, with keeping things under wrap because they don't know how they're going to be accepted. Do you think that things have gotten better in rural Indiana, by the way? Do you know?
I think everything's gotten a little bit better. I mean, especially since I was in school.
You know, I get a kick out of going to Pride here in Indy, because I know a lot of those kids, a lot of the people that we're seeing at Pride parades in Indy come from little towns all over India. Now a lot of those towns have Pride parades.
They do.
Can you believe that?
I live near Crawfordsville, so I still live in a small town, and I live outside of Crawfordsville, and Crawfordsville, Indiana is pretty small, and they just started having, I don't know if they have a parade, but they have a Pride.
I love that.
Yeah, so it's great.
Is it called Crawfordsville Pride?
I think so.
I know Spencer has one.
Spencer has one, yeah. And we're getting ready. Lafayette has theirs in a couple weeks, so it's called Outfest. So that's in a couple weeks. Yeah.
Well, that's really, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And of course, the Indianapolis one is like, you know, I was at the very first one on Monument Circle.
Yeah.
And so for me, obviously it's just profound. It's profound to see all the changes that have happened. But of course, there are a lot of people my age we lost due to AIDS, and then for good and for bad, AIDS did do some good work in terms of forcing people to, there used to be a saying, silence equals death.
Mm-hmm.
And we, many of us felt we had to come out in order to make change.
Yeah.
We had to let people know we're your neighbors or your friends or your husbands or whatever, So do you ever, where you sit right now, do you ever think about the legacy of like all those who came before you and what they did? Or do you have an appreciation for LGBT history, in other words?
Oh, yes. Like 100%. I mean, when I was in high school, Fort Wayne had one of their first Pride events. And, and it was super small. I can remember it was at, I forget what park, maybe Sweeney Park. And it was so teeny tiny. And now Allen County Pride, I think is what they call it, is huge. And so like all those people that made those things happen, it's amazing. And especially like in Indiana or any like red state like ours, it is so much harder, I think, to make a difference. And so the people that come out and they put in the work to make these things happen, like I have nothing but love for those people, and I'm in awe of them,
And, I like to think, in my experience, the arts were a haven for me as well. And, I have the life I have because the arts, for so many other, talk about informing the way I look at the world, but it's the arts that gave me hope and inspiration and kept me going through all of that. Would you say that that's, was your experience as well?
100%. If the arts in the high schools that I went to, those were the safe space for me. And it gave me a place where, younger Tony could be in those spaces and be himself and not feel like a weirdo. You know what I mean? And so it does make me a little sad now knowing that like, I don't think every school, the arts have been cut back so much in some of these areas.
Well, that's why community theater is so important, right?
Community theater is very important. Yes.
And what, like say, the Butch Tarkington, what they're doing, and Summer Stock Stage, and all the others that have programming for young people. Thank God, right?
Yes, the work that Summer Stock does, it amazes me. They bring these kids in from, I think, last time I worked for them,
50
it was like
schools.
Yeah, it was like 50 schools, and they're from all over the state. I think at one point they said like 28 counties. It's like these kids that are not going to get these opportunities anywhere else get to come here and, be with other theater kids from all over the state.
The creme de la creme of their peers.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Theater kids, my tribe.
Yeah.
They're all like me, Last week I covered them, and I also covered Songbook Academy. Same idea. They're from 40 cities around the country. The work they do up there with preserving the Great American Songbook, and many of those kids come from musical theater. Yeah, I just love it. It's the next generation. By the way, a bunch of those kids in both of those programs are on Broadway, are in touring companies, or doing movies, TV, everything.
It's the amount of arts that are happening in Indianapolis and the people that go on to higher caliber things is amazing, and I don't think that everyone realizes the influence.
You and me both know that, but it's not widely known by people who don't know the ramifications of the work that Michael Feinstein's doing, and Chris Lewis and the people up there. And of course we've got, but you get around town and everybody like I do. You're in the trenches. When I say that, though, all the artistic directors for the most part, and managing directors, the arts administrators, but you also know your fellow colleagues. And so you speak from authority, I believe, and that what we've got going on here is very special in this town. Would you agree?
I do agree. 100%. I think that there's so many theater companies in town, and all of them operate at a really high level. Some, I'm just, every time I go out and I see something, I am floored by some of the work. And yeah, it's just, there's such amazing things.
The collaboration too. It's in many ways it mirrors what you see and you hear these, I'm very conscious of media stuff. I watch a lot of entertainment, reporting and television, whatever. I try to stay, it's my field. I kind of like want to know what's going on nationally too. And I notice, like on Broadway in Hollywood, it's always been this way, but it seems even more so. There are more opportunities because of the variety of work out there and the the levels of and it's more accessible for people to get work and places where they couldn't before. But anyway, what I'm getting at is that you often hear actors, they love the idea of working with people that they admire so much. And you see a lot of that in Indy. And I get to see, people who've seen each other's work, and it's very supportive. I love that.
It is very supportive.
People are cheering for people. They're not competing. They're not jealous. They're not like, that kind of backstage bitterness, the diva complex, whatever.
That's the one thing that I really, I just think it's such a great thing about the Indianapolis theater scene, and is that everyone is so positive and they all are rooting for each other. Different theater companies promote other theater companies' work. Like the Fonseca Theater Company is always posting, what's happening this weekend. And it's not just their shows they're promoting everybody's shows. And a lot of people do that. And I just think that it is, if one person's doing great work, it's raising everybody, it's making everybody better.
There's a quote that I like to use and I always forget about, something about boats, ships rising.
Yes, when the tide rises, when one tide rises, all the boats rise.
There you go.
Something like that.
I can never remember that.
Yeah, I'm sure I just did it wrong as well. But that is true with the Indianapolis theater community is and everyone's doing vastly different things. So there's not a lot of comparisons to be made. Indie drag theater is doing something amazing where it just anyone can be in their shows, and it's just amazing the inclusion that they're having with these shows like Six, and I worked on Clue last year, and right now they're doing a parody of High School the Musical, and anyone can be in their shows, and it's just such great work and people love it. And then there's Cryptid that's doing these crazy off the wall things that people really get behind. And then, it's just everyone's doing these different things and it's great.
And then, talking about along those lines, I ran into our mutual friend, Mickey Matthew Dykes, one of the grand dames of the theater in Indy. And we've known each other many, many years, been in some shows, whatever. But Mickey and I, she tried to recruit me to be in Guys and Dolls, the senior production that Summer Stock Stage is going to start doing every year.
Yeah.
But I demurred. I wasn't available. No, I was scared. Anyway, I was stupid, but I hear they had a ball.
I think that they did. And I love the idea of the senior shows that they're doing because
it's brilliant.
It's so brilliant. And it's such a great way to build community.
And there's so many thespians out there who don't work anymore.
Yes.
And gives them a chance. But then for people who always dreamed of being on stage too, right?
Yeah. And, and theater's such a great way to connect with other people.
Yeah.
And so I think it's what a great way to get, seniors together and put them in a place where they can, hang out with other people and do theater.
And then of course, you have a bird's eye view like I do too of what's going on in terms of inclusiveness in general, right? Because we have no shortage of inclusive-minded people, and the African American talent that's showing up, the Latino, all the designers for Extreme Home Makeover, most of them were Latinos.
Yep.
I love that. And all the actors were Latino.
And
You're the production designer.
Yeah, I'm the production manager for American Lives Theater, and
I apologize because I left you out of the review.
Oh, that's fine.
And I didn't realize it until afterwards. So everybody, you do this too now. You're a production. What is that? Explain what that is, by the way.
Well, I've one of the first gigs that I got when I came back to Indianapolis or Indiana was with American Lives Theater, and I just think what they're trying to do, what Chris is trying to do.
He's the bomb.
He is. And I think what he's trying to do is so important. And I think a couple of years ago, I was like, hey, let me take some of this off your plate and help you, with some of the production management stuff. And so I'll be going into my third season doing that. And, all I really do is help find the designers, put them, in their different roles.
So you found these people in Extreme Home Makeover?
Yes. So Extreme Home Makeover, we really, Carlos really wanted to build a team that was representative of the show. And, Carlos Teeters works at the Phoenix. And they're great scenic designers. So we lucked out with having them. And then Tatiana, who did the lights, she was a student at Purdue that just graduated.
Yeah.
And so she did, the first time she worked with American Lives Theater was on the
Sanctuary. Did she do that?
No, it was the one with the house, where the house is all kind of haunted. I want to say The Hours, but that's not it. I forget. But what was that movie? What was that play called? Anyway, she worked on a show with us last season, and everyone really loved the work that Tatiana did. And so we asked her to do this show. And then Sujin is a current sound student at Purdue. And she stepped in to do the sound, and she's been wonderful. She stepped in for Wasabia right at the last minute and was the sound designer for Wasabia. And she is just really great. And what I love about being the production manager for American Lives Theater is, finding some of these, younger designers and giving them a chance to do, some work.
Do you critique their work?
I do not.
Do they ask you to take a look at this?
Oh, that does happen. And I think that happens, Chris and I, sometimes will, look at the work, but we do that in the design meetings, and so there's a lot of
okay. I guess that's what I really meant.
Yeah. So like in the design meetings, I mean, I don't usually critique. Offer
suggestions.
Yes, I will do that sometimes, especially
or give feedback.
Especially when we're in that the design process where we're all collaborating, kind of brainstorming. We do a lot of that. But yeah, it's. This Extreme Home Makeover, it's been a real pleasure working with all of these designers on that show. It's been very exciting.
But, I happen to know through my interaction with people at IRT and others locally that this is a national trend. More and more designers are matriculating through master's degree programs.
Yes.
It took some time for people to filter in through education, the theater schools. They're training now, but they're also recruiting interns and trainees, minorities. It's now not an afterthought anymore. The theater has always been in the has always advanced progressiveness, right? They've always been in the forefront of change, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I think so, 100%.
And the same goes when the issue of inclusiveness, when people of color actually went around to artistic, hey, we want to be at the table here.
Yeah.
Why aren't we being cast for these parts? So some paradigm thinking had to change. And I saw it locally here with IRT, and Brian Fonseca was like the godfather.
Yeah. It is impressive how important that is to Indianapolis theaters.
It's not just what am I trying to say? And it's really sincere. It's not like, politically correct, that kind of thing.
We have so many talented, there's just so many talented people in this city, and giving everyone a chance and everyone a seat at the table is so important.
Now, do you do any formal mentoring, or do you how do you give back to younger people? Do you open doors for young designers?
I try to. I mean, part of the work that I do at Purdue, like in the costume shop, I mean, I mentor the some of the undergrads that work in the shop as like their boss, and then I mentor. There's a little bit of mentoring that goes into the grad students that work in the costume shop as well, because there's 2 costume grad students getting their MFA at Purdue, and they do their assistantship hours in the costume shop. So I mentor them a little bit, and then I also like this year at Yuletide, one of those grad students is going to be our assistant designer, because Camille. I don't know if you know Camille Deering, but Camille Deering and I will be designing Yuletide this year. It's our first year
I was going to
designing.
get there.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So you guys are official.
We are official.
I love that.
But part of, what we wanted to do was bring in, a young designer.
I love that.
And give them the chance to work on Yuletide with us.
So you guys have succeeded. She was on this podcast.
Claire Hinkle.
It was your idea.
The legendary Claire
It
Hinkle.
was such a lovely show I had with her. Yeah. And I didn't get to meet her. I still haven't. Yeah, she got out of town before.
Yeah, she did. She's in Boulder enjoying her best
Did you hear
retirement.
that interview I did with her?
I did. It was great.
Oh, it was so much fun chatting with her and getting to know her. And that tribute they did to her of her gowns over the years. On that podcast, I don't know if you remember, but I told her I used to, in my reviews one time, I referred to it as a night of 1,000 gowns.
Yes. And that last year definitely was a night of 1,000 gowns because of that Claire Couture number.
So officially you got these gigs at Purdue, and you are, what is your title?
I'm the costume shop manager at Purdue.
And ISO?
Yes, at ISO, I'm the costume designer for Yuletide Celebration.
So these are your day jobs. But you do freelance for everybody else.
Yep.
You've done work for the Phoenix, for the IRT.
I've not worked at IRT yet. It's my white whale. I'm
surprised.
Well,
if they're listening out there,
yes.
Come on. Yeah, but they've got the very talented Guy Clark, isn't he? Like their chief costume designer.
I think he is still there. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I went nuts over your creations, and we talked about this most recently. And pardon me, I'm blanking.
Magnolia Ballet, I think.
Yeah.
And then you really like the thing that I did recently that I've helped with is
Esque.
Yes.
Burlesque.
Yes.
Knocked me out. So very. Very, yeah. I just really, your work is such a, you have this whimsy.
Well, thank you.
I'm a big fan of whimsy. And it's reflected in your work in so many unexpected ways, so many original ways. I don't know, especially like, I don't know, you're just the best when it comes to headdresses.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's, I try to put at least a fun spin on everything.
Mm-hmm. It's like that lyric in, what's the musical? The drag queen, bauble. She's talking about, I am what I am. No, it's something from, what's the Birdcage? What was the musical?
Lacage.
There's lyrics in Lacage about beauty and whatever. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think
bangles and
baubles. Yeah. Yes. I do try to put bangles and baubles on everything, especially in Yuletide.
That's you. I mean, there's a lot of glitter.
Or was the
and
producers
fun.
Make it gay.
Yeah.
I try to, it's, you don't always get the opportunity to have fun with stuff.
And Yuletide, I've told you that warehouse, which I've seen, in my various appearances in drag.
Yeah.
I had access to the vault, and I told somebody, I said, for a drag queen, it's like visiting King Tut's tomb.
There's a lot of dresses out
So
there.
many treasures.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, oh my God.
There's a lot of sequins and rhinestones out in that warehouse. It's
Oh my, I
beautiful.
just, we're talking about gloves and jewelry and
Yeah.
shoes and oh geez.
yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. So gosh, I can't wait to see what you're cooking up. You've already started, right? You have to.
We have started. We have started.
For Yuletide.
We have fittings in like 2 weeks.
Have they announced who's leading or who's the
Yes,
the
Curtis.
stars?
Curtis Bannister, who's been he was the host, a co-host last year, and the co-host the year before, I think, or featured. It will be hosting it this year.
I was backstage to say hello to Sandy Patty when
Mm-hmm.
she got to greet Curtis, and I'm blanking on her name, Laura, not Laura, who headlined with Curtis. Ashley
Brown, yes.
I got to be backstage to listen in on how Sandy told them about. She raved about their their appearance in the show.
Oh, good.
I always wanted to. I heard she was in the audience, and to hear her rave to them, it was so cool.
Sandy is such an amazing talent and person. Like I'm so glad that my first year with Yuletide was a year that she did it, and just seeing how, what a professional she was, and just
How do you
amazing.
like working with Jack and Ty? Goes without
Oh, I
saying.
love Jack and Ty. I think that they're wonderful, and I just.
I bet you've had some great laughs.
Oh yes, every meeting,
For those listening, Jack Everly is the music director, the Indianapolis Pops, and Ty is executive producer, and he is the force behind that team, and he's the visionary.
He is, and the one thing that I love about Yuletide is it. And this sounds so cheesy, but we are a family, and I felt just my first year, I felt like a family, and they're just so inviting and so open, and it's just such a great environment to work in. And I think that's what keeps performers coming back year after year, and the staff coming back year after year. So I'm really excited to be part of that family. And
It's as far as I'm concerned, for you, it's got to be a plum, because I know it took a while, but word has spread about Yuletide, and there are orchestras all over the world that were trying to figure out, how can we do this?
There are a lot of people that try to duplicate, and Ty has really pulled it off and has created.
Yeah, and he has managed to top himself every year.
Yes, yeah,
I believe.
yeah. And this is our 40th year, so we're it's a special anniversary.
I've seen most of those shows,
Yeah.
by the way.
Wow. Well, this year's going to be really special. We're trying to pull out all the stops. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, one thing about Yuletide too, and I often say this in my review for people who never have or may never, but just go see Yuletide and you'll see what the New York show is like. But even New York doesn't have a full orchestra like that. on
Yeah,
stage.
exactly. Well, and
And
There's-
the production values are, oh my God. It's like, I look at that show and I think, oh my God, those people kill on Broadway to have budgets like that.
it is a Broadway show that's being produced in Indianapolis, and so many theater people that I talk to have never seen Yuletide, and I'm
What's
like,
up
you have
with
to go
that?
see Yuletide. I don't know. Part of it is I think it's such a busy season for
Yeah, I know.
theater people that we're all so busy.
I know.
But it is, people. Yeah, I'm trying to get people to go now that I'm working on it. I'm like, this is great. Come see it. So
I'm sure they're there, but where are the gays? I
Yeah.
mean, come on.
I do think the gays do like to come to see Yuletide. It is,
I know.
it is a fun time, and I love seeing. One of my favorite things about Yuletide is going once it opens.
Yeah.
Is watching the patrons and how they dress, because everyone brings their A game and dresses so nicely, and it's sequins and everything, and people it's just a really fun show.
Yeah, it truly is a generational thing, because I know now that people are bringing their grandkids and they all, So what is it? 35? How many years now?
The 40th. This will be the 40th year.
Yeah. So initially you wanted to come on the show and bring a colleague, and then I told you, I didn't want to date the show, but now let's talk about Indie Fringe.
Yeah.
And without it being too damn self-serving, we can talk about my participation in it. And this is another one of those things. When you asked me to do it, I was going to say no immediately. And then I thought, no, do it, because you don't want to do it. That's why you should do it.
It's going to be fun. You're going to have fun, Tom.
Spill the tea.
Well, so, you're talking about mentoring young theater people. There's a student at Purdue. Their name's Rivers. And Rivers, I've known Rivers since they were in SpongeBob at Jefferson High School in Lafayette. And they're just, they are such a powerhouse, like in the theater, like community in Lafayette. They're so passionate about it. And Rivers did a show last year that they wrote called Are You Gayer Than a Straight Guy? And they performed it at the Civic Theater in Lafayette, and it was a big hit. And so I told them, I'm like, if you do all the legwork and get the show into the Fringe, I was like, I'll pay for whatever we need to do, like the entry fees, if we need a set, any of that stuff. And I was like, let's just make it happen. And that's kind of what happened. And Rivers really took it upon himself to like get us into the Fringe. And so I'm kind of helping promote it and get us, it's a game show.
Sounds like you're an executive producer, Tom.
I am, yes, the multi-hyphenate now. But so what it is like a game show that Rivers has developed. And my main job has been getting him local superstars to be our guest stars in the show. And that's why we reached out to you to be one of the guest stars. And so what's great about it is the people that are in the show just have to show up, and it's just a game show, and you're just, part of the game show. And I know what it is, but I don't know. Every night's going to be different because Rivers basically writes the show to fit each guest's like backgrounds. So that's why I think I sent out a questionnaire last week, and he's going to write the questions around the people that are going to be in the show. Okay. So it's going to be a good time.
It appears right now that you're marketing it pretty well.
We are, and there's a lot of interest in it. So I've never done Fringe before, but I really like this.
I've done it. Our Magic That Cabaret. We've been in it a number of times.
Yeah.
Yeah. We took a break.
I really like this kind of I don't know. It kind of feels like, do it yourself kind of theater. And we have to do everything, and it's just kind of fun. And the stakes are low. You know what I mean?
Something just occurred to me, and this is really self-serving because we got to talk about Cabaret Latino.
Yep.
Because you and I are finally going to work together.
Yes, we have a production meeting tomorrow. It's going to be exciting.
October the 3rd, October 3rd, Hendrix Live. This is a show I created. This will be the third time we've performed. It gets bigger and better every year. And we've been invited to perform this at Hendrix Live, and it is a review of music from all of Latin America, music from Central America, South America, the Caribbean, and it's classics, and it's pop, and it's the music of crossover superstars like Gloria Estefan and Bad Bunny and Shakira and Selena. And you are going to be helping us with costumes.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be working with you guys. And it sounds like a lot of fun. And I love something I don't get to do a lot of is dance. And
we have dancers from Butler University and Cynthia Pratt, who's on the faculty. She's a local legend, and she is choreographing 8 student dancers. And you don't even know this, but we just signed on with Ballet Mosaicos, the Ballet Folklorico. in Indiana, and they do regional folkloric dances from all of Mexico. And we're using some of their kids in one of the pieces called De Colores, which is a traditional Mexican folktale. So they're going to be performing in this number. So we've got dancers, we've got 2 singers, we have 11-piece orchestra, and that's a state-of-the-art, bells and whistles, everything at Hendrix Live. So it's a big deal. So we're real excited, and to have you involved. You know how it goes in the theater. You want to get the right team together, for artistic reasons, but also, when people like to see, well, who's involved? It sells tickets.
It does. It does.
Yeah, I mean, how can the show miss if you've got Anthony James Sirk doing the costumes?
Thank you.
No kidding. So, it's been. I just really have enjoyed watching your career soar here.
Thank you,
because
Tom.
I've seen so much of the work, and it's you've given it. You've added one more piece to the texture of the high caliber of production values. It seems like people are raising their game a lot in this town. Would you agree?
I would agree, and I think it's just such a joy to work in Indianapolis, and you've really been such a supporter, and that's meant a lot to me. So
well, it's meant a lot to me that you've given me a lot to write about, because it goes both ways. I couldn't do it if I didn't have something to advocate and support and believe in.
Thank you.
And I've seen work all over the world, and that's why I'm so grateful to have the show, so that I can brag about Indy, and whoever's listening anywhere around the country can get the message that I'm trying to do here. Is like, we've got something very special, and good art is not only made in New York and Chicago. It's being done right here in the middle of the country. And on regional theater I have a passion for promoting regional theater as well. And you've done a lot of regional theater work.
I have.
And you've worked in New York.
I have. I did like an off-Broadway show.
But nevertheless, you follow trends and what people are looking for in producers, do you not?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, you've made some really great contributions yourself, Anthony. So thank you for taking the time to sit here and chat with me.
Thank you, Tom.
And so for those listening, how can they find out about you and your work? And, you are for hire, right?
Yeah, I am for hire.
So how can people find you?
They can find me at Anthony Sirk at anthonysirk.com. And there's a place on my website to contact me.
Are you on social media?
I am. I'm on Facebook and Anthony Sirk as well. And then Instagram at Anthony James Sirk.
Okay, one last thing I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or ask you, it's one of my favorite questions. We talked about that young gay boy in that little rural town somewhere in Indiana who may be listening to this. What would you say, what would the 8-year-old Anthony say to this young kid? And what he would have said to himself?
Well, I often think of like the fact that when I get down on myself or think I'm not doing a good job, I just realize that like the 8-year-old me would look at the life that I have right now and not believe that this is a real life. You know what I mean? And so I want anyone that's like that feels like I did back then, to realize that like one day you're going to have the life that you're imagining. You just have to believe in yourself, and it's a lot of hard work. It's not going to come to you easily, but you got to get out there and do it. And all of the dreams that you have are going to come true.
Remember that old advertising campaign? It gets better.
Yes. Yeah.
It does.
It does get better, but in order for it to get better, you kind of have to do the work, but it does get better.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Tom.
Our thanks go out to our media sponsor, Urban Times. Urban Times is a monthly news magazine which serves as the official newsletter for 15 Indianapolis neighborhoods, offering news about development, arts and entertainment, and from the business community. Thank you for joining me on the aisle. Please subscribe to my podcast, and if you want to hear previous episodes, find them on the All Indiana Podcast Network or listen to them wherever you get your podcasts. This is Tom Alvarez.
Who will take center stage on the podcast next? Your seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez awaits. Follow Tom on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and make sure to visit tomalvarez.studio. Watch Tom every other Thursday on Lifestyle Live on Wish TV, and make sure to listen every week here on the All Indiana Podcast Network.